Welcome to the No Shame Podcast. This is John Groders. Our guest today is an incredible woman who you are definitely going to want to meet. She's strong, funny, honest, mildly irreverent. She's definitely a mom with number 8 on the way, and she's the real-life subject of the new feature film, Unplanned.
Have no shame, no, we are not afraid, no shame.
Well, good morning. This is John Groders. We're at the No Shame Podcast on the floor of the National Religious Broadcasters Expo. It's the 75th anniversary. We're sitting next to the Pilgrim's Progress bus under a giant iconic cartoon of worldly wise men, which I guess isn't relevant to this fact that we have on the podcast this morning, Abby Johnson. And you are in the news right now, aren't you?
I am, yeah, for better or worse. In the news.
Oh my goodness. Well, Abby, it's really a pleasure to meet you. We've met now for 15 seconds maybe.
Yeah, old friends.
And we are old friends. The movie is called Unplanned, which when I saw it, I thought was the story of my life. Like, I can't plan a haircut. I can't pack before I'm ready to leave. Oh, they finally made a movie about me. I'm so spontaneous. But then I saw the trailer, and it's a whole different story altogether. So, would you mind just giving us the setup of this film?
Sure. I worked for Planned Parenthood, our country's largest abortion provider, for 8 years. I started off as a college kid and eventually worked my way up through the ranks and became a clinic director with Planned Parenthood. I ended up leaving in 2009 after witnessing a live ultrasound guided abortion procedure and seeing a 13-week-old unborn child fight and struggle for his life against the abortion instruments. And, you know, I knew then that I could no longer pretend that there wasn't life in the womb, that there wasn't humanity in the womb, and that this child's rights didn't matter. And so I decided to leave, and ever since then I've been really trying to just share my story, expose what's taking place inside of these abortion facilities. About 3,000 abortions take place every day in the United States. But also trying to bring healing to those who have been wounded or touched by abortion in some way. I mean, there's 61 million recorded abortions since Roe v. Wade, since 1973, and abortion affects men and women, so we're talking about probably over 100 million people who have been personally affected by abortion, who are wounded and they need help, and they need to know the radical mercy and forgiveness of God. And so we're really just trying to make that happen, bringing those two things together.
For some reason, you know, Frodo just came to mind, the one who didn't intend to be the one to carry the ring, but in The Lord of the Rings becomes the centerpiece of the whole thing. Abby, you didn't start off to try to be a crusader for a cause, but you have sort of, in some ways, become the one with the ring. And means you get, I mean, what's your life like being sort of Frodo of this divisive topic today, and such a vital topic?
You know, it's a big burden to carry.
I believe you.
Honestly, you know, you just, people will, my staff, you know, they're like, oh, you just work all the time, and sometimes it's like, if I just work 10 more minutes.
I just do one more podcast first thing in the morning.
If I just do one more interview, if I just
so
answer one more email.
Yes.
You know, maybe that'll save a life. I mean,
Right.
it's a burden, but then you also see so much fruit from it as well.
Yeah. And the stakes are so high. It must be, you're pregnant.
I am.
And this is your number, did I hear 8? I thought it was 8.
Yeah.
So when she came in, Keith says, oh, I didn't know you're pregnant. And you said all the time. 8
It's true.
kids. Yeah, that's a lot of your life percentage-wise spent pregnant. And so I guess it's just like you have certainly got the authority to speak about what children in this world are like. And you know that they don't just come and take care of themselves and act like little angels all the time. And you care about women who are struggling with a big decision. And then you say this statistic, which is such a statistic that it can't even penetrate my brain, that we've had 61 million abortions since Roe v. Wade. It doesn't compute for most of us.
No, it doesn't.
What are we supposed
so
to
big.
do about this?
It's so big.
What are we supposed to do?
You know, I believe, I hear a lot of times people say, well, I pray to God that he will end abortion. And it sort of makes me laugh because I don't think God's sitting up there like, well, if Susan would just pray one more time, I'll end abortion, right? Like, I mean, he's not waiting on a certain amount of prayers. Like, it's not the lotto, right? Like, you put in so many and all of a sudden you pull the lever and it happens, right? Like, could he miraculously end abortion, you know, within the blink of an eye? Yes, of course, right? He's God. But I think every time we say that prayer, God looks at us and says, okay, let's end it, right? Let's do it. Rise up. Be my hands and feet as I have called you to be. Mm-hmm. Let's end this thing. I believe that we are all called to do everything we can to protect the least of these and to protect the marginalized, to protect the vulnerable. There's nobody more vulnerable in our society than the unborn and the elderly. And we see an attack on their lives every single day in our world. So we all have a place. We all have a role to play, I believe, in this fight to uphold the sanctity of human life. We have to figure out what that is. But I mean, it can't be me saying, well, this is what you do, right? Mm-hmm. You have to really diligently seek the Lord's answer for how he wants you to fulfill the calling that he's put on your life.
10 years ago, Abby, it sounds like you changed your mind. This is a subject I don't think I've met anybody who's ever changed their mind on. Now, I'm going to talk later about it, and then there were none. But you know what I mean? People make this is my position, and if you even hint at the other, what, Unplanned? I will boycott the theater. I will never eat at Chick-fil-A. I will blah, blah. I mean, right away we're mortal enemies because
what a
the
shame,
camps.
too, because Chick-fil-A... Yeah. So good.
It has not hurt their business, and they're loving people, and they treat their employees well.
They do.
And they give them Sundays off.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? Like, people make their mind up, but you're maybe the miraculous thing is someone who changed their mind. Is that true? Did that happen to you?
Yeah, I totally changed my mind. And you know what? I think the message is that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay. I changed my mind on a lot of things. It's not like I was like, oh yeah, I'm a good Christian, conservative, except I'm pro-choice. I mean, I was like dang near a socialist on just about every issue out there. I had to change my mind on a lot of things when I came back to a relationship with Christ. So it's okay. It's okay to admit that you've been wrong. That's just what you do. When you see something that you've been wrong about, the Bible says when you're faced with evil, you don't cooperate with it, you flee from it. So you flee. And you say, oh, I made a mistake. And you do what you can to make amends for the wrongs that you've committed. And then you move forward in a new life. I mean, it's really not that difficult. It's really not that hard.
Amazingly, that sounds incredibly profound to me. It's okay to change your mind. I hope that the work that we do in media, in discussion, in making films, and doing radio interviews is because we still believe that every person, if confronted with something more true than the last thing that they believed, would be at least open to changing their mind. Including me, including you. If you can show me something more true then let's just say we're open to that. But nothing has proven more true in my years than the things that I stand on today. I've had that chance to walk the Bible, and it stands up, and I've been in the land, and I've done the archaeology, and I've seen the changed lives, and it's true, and so my mind has changed. We're speaking with Abby Johnson, and let's talk about this movie. You ever think you'd have a movie made about your life and about you?
Never.
That wasn't your dream growing up?
No, I wanted to be a nurse.
Uh-huh.
And look at me now. Yeah, no, I never thought this would happen, you know, but I wrote Unplanned, the book, 2011. Thought nobody would read it, because who wants to read a book about that? Became a bestseller, shockingly.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, people did want to read the book. And then I sort of thought that was it. I founded a ministry, been doing that, been speaking, doing media, and sort of thought, well, this is my life. This is the pattern of my life, having kids, you know, every 5 minutes. So I just thought, this is what I do, you know? And then I get this emails, really casual email from these two guys who happen to write and direct God's Not Dead 1 and 2.
Corey and Chuck.
Yeah, and I thought, I'd never heard of them before. I mean, if I'm perfectly honest, I wasn't a huge fan of God's Not Dead, so I was like, well, that movie was really cheesy. So I don't know, like if I don't know if they are the people to make this film about my life, because my life is not a cheesy Christian film,
right?
You know, and I told them that right off the bat. They flew down to Austin, Texas, where I live. They met with my family, met with my parents, met with, you know, everybody. And I remember talking to them, and they're two, I mean, Carrie and Chuck are two of the most prayerful people I know. And that just really was apparent to me. And I just felt like, I felt very, I don't know, I felt very anxious about the meeting before I met with them. And then once I met with them, I just felt this overwhelming peace, like God telling me, do this. This is what you need to do. And I didn't want to do it, because I thought, I've already been super vulnerable. So I don't think I want to be any more vulnerable. But I just felt like, no, this is what I need to do. So signed the deal. That was more than 5 years ago.
Wow.
We were all just raring to go, full speed ahead. Chuck and Carrie, in a time of prayer, heard a word from the Lord, and the Lord told them to wait. Not no, just wait. And so they were like, what? You know, what are you talking about? Like, we're ready to go. We have all the material. We've read the book. We're ready. But they were obedient. Then they got commissioned to do God's Not Dead 2. So they did. And they thought, okay, this is why we were waiting, because we were going to do God's Not Dead 2. So after that, they started working on it again. Lord tells them, wait. And by this time, I was like, stop listening to the Lord.
I am ready. Didn't I tell you I was ready?
I'm so ready to do this. But, you know, trusted them, their discernment, their judgment. After the 2016 election, abortion had been in the media more than it had been in a long time. Right. Trump was talking about abortion. It was coming up in the presidential debates. And they heard the Lord say, now.
Time to go.
Right now. So we just pushed everything fast forward. Script was written. I approved the script. It was beautiful, perfect. Started casting, started production, filmed for 8 weeks. And now it's been in editing and production. Comes out today. Today. In theaters.
Unbelievable.
And you know, I look at what's happening in our society. All this talk about late-term abortion, you know, New York, Virginia, Vermont, you know, all the infanticide, all this is going on. And I think we could not have planned the timing of this film.
Unplanned.
It was totally unplanned by us, planned by God. He knew all along. 5 years ago, when we were ready to go, the country was not ready for this film. Right. But they're ready right now.
Wow. You are absolutely right. I hadn't thought of that, but Yeah, if you would have responded after the Vermont decisions and the governor's, it's up to the mother even after the birth is finished if she wants to kill the child or not. If at that moment someone's got to make a movie, we're 3 years down the line before it comes out. You've been backing the truck up all this time. We met Carrie and Chuck at Kappa Studios on Monday. They said, we've been living here since last June, editing and working and revising, and it's coming out today. That's the timing of the Lord. All right, so you're listening to this podcast. This is the No Shame Podcast. We're talking to Abby Johnson, the real-life person behind the movie Unplanned, and what she's just told us is about her story. But what's it about your story? What's that thing you've been praying about that the Lord has said, wait, and you just think you know better? I think I know better. This story says, man, maybe patience isn't such a bad idea. Maybe the Lord's got a cosmic timeline in line for you. When that job's going to come, when that child's going to come home, whatever it is. Man, trust that. Look at this. This movie's coming out today, and the country has never been more needy for this movie. Never.
It's been a lesson for me, too.
Ugh.
I mean, honestly, because I'm not the most patient person. Believe it or not.
I like her.
So it's been a real lesson in faith for me as well, because Chuck and Carrie are so wise. They have so much wisdom. And I'm a doer, right? And I'm like, I'll pray about it later. I'm going to do it right now. And they are the exact opposite. They're like, we're going to pray about it, and then we're going to decide if we do it. That's been such a beautiful lesson for me to see in them and to learn from them. Because isn't that so of the flesh for us, right? To be like, no, now, I want it right now, and so it's been really, really to sort of see them as mentors, spiritual mentors, through this process has been something I didn't even expect that's happened.
I've just limited experience, but personal film production work. When the blessing seems to come at one part, it just seems to come at all the parts.
Yes.
So it just seems to me, I haven't seen the film, I've seen the trailer, but just hearing from this, I just have a feeling that blessing isn't going to stop when the doors open to those theaters. We're going to know at the end of the weekend something. We're going to know something else after the end of the second weekend. Is the film any good?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good?
It's not mediocre. It's pretty good.
Awesome.
Critics hate it.
Why?
So that means it's good.
But it's got an R rating. I thought they loved R-rated movies. What are you doing making an R-rated movie, by the way? Come on.
My husband.
I thought you were a Christian.
I know. My husband and I were sort of joking about it. I was like, but isn't all of our stories R-rated until Jesus?
Well, the Old Testament is.
Isn't the Bible pretty R-rated?
The Old Testament's like NC-17 or something. I mean, we have to get rid of that in our churches.
Yeah, New Testament only.
That is a bit of a thing, though, right? Why is your movie rated R, and should it be?
I think in reality, no, it shouldn't be. I think it was agenda-driven by the MPAA, for sure. I don't think the irony is lost on any of us that a 15-year-old girl can go get an abortion without her parents' consent, but she can't go watch a film about abortion without her parents' consent. I mean, we all see that. So yeah, I definitely think it was agenda-driven, but in a way, it's almost like the MPAA stumbled backwards into the truth by admitting that abortion is violent, that it is disturbing. Those were their words. And I just have to pray that that board of people, the people that rate films, there's only like 10 people on that board, that somebody was moved by this film. Somebody was moved by the scenes that they saw in this film. They were moved enough to say, wait a minute, that was a serious act of violence right there. We can't pretend that it wasn't. And in reality, all teenagers should see this film. It's not too much for teenagers to see. They need to know what's happening during an abortion. They need to know what's happening in these clinics. The abortion industry is coming after them, so they need to be prepared. But they do need to see this with a parent, because this does need to be a conversation that parents have with their children, a dialogue. My 12-year-old saw it. She's fine. She's not traumatized. But we are constantly in conversation about the topic of abortion, sexuality, modesty, things that affect her today.
What a fascinating point, because on one hand we're told that abortion is just a procedure to a tissue. But I'm sure if we had done a movie about cancer with what I haven't seen the film, but that there would not have been an R-rated movie for violence. But because it's talking about, you said they backed into the truth and recognized abortion is a violent procedure. And the reason this movie got an R-rated is not probably, I'm assuming, for language and nudity and all the rest. It's for violence.
There's no nudity.
Yeah.
I'm not walking around without my shirt on the whole time.
She gives birth with her pants on because we're Christians. But it's violent, it's murder, and some people, and that's so by giving an R-rated movie, you're right. What a fascinating accident. So take your children and then talk about it with it. Take your teenagers and say they are coming after you. Take your parents. Go see Unplanned. It sounds okay. I'm gonna just be clear. Friday night, I feel like going out and having a good time, and maybe a comedy, maybe a little action adventure, maybe Jason Bourne saves the world, or I can go see Unplanned. I never feel like going to these movies. They're like good for you food, and I don't feel like. But I always feel better after I eat good for you food.
Yeah.
Why do I go see this?
It's a movie that's full of hope.
Yeah.
And I didn't sign the deal to make this film to make Abby Johnson a household name. I don't care anything about stardom, or I'm a mom. That's my primary job, right? I'm a wife. That's my primary vocation. But I care deeply about making God's story of redemption and forgiveness and that promise that he gives us, all of us. I care very deeply about making sure that every household knows that's available to them. And that's really what this story is about. And this is a story for everybody. This is a story for people who are pro-life, people who are Christian, people who are pro-choice, no matter where you stand, because it provides a conversion opportunity for every single one of us to really figure out how God's calling us in this movement, how he's calling us to get involved, and to maybe see some places in our life where we need a little work. Maybe we've dehumanized people who work in the abortion industry. Maybe we have said ugly things about women who get abortions. Maybe we haven't been as charitable as we could have been, right? There's that opportunity for every single one of us that's presented in this film.
This is way too much to lay on Abby Johnson's shoulders, but you know what? You guys that are listening to this, and I think a lot of guys listen to this podcast, I was sitting around with my buddies. We get together every Monday night. We call it Insula. We're not all that spiritual. We're watching football, but we kind of are trying to live our lives according to the promises that we've made to God and to our wives, and so we kind of call each other. It's just, that's my little small group of just dudes, and then we sit in a barn and we burn the wood, and it's changed in our conversations this year to where just a bunch of guys, this is before I met you and knew about your movie, saying, hey, what are we going to do about this? Like, when I stand before the Lord someday and he says, well, you stood there and did nothing while 60 million kids were murdered under your watch, and I don't have a real good feeling about myself right now. And I don't want to do a dumb thing, and I don't want to be hateful, but I do think it's time for us to wake up and sort of say, hey, these are the most defenseless among us. You talk about a group that cannot speak for themselves or defend themselves. If we don't speak for them, who in the world will? So I'm talking about guys, middle-aged dudes. It is time for us to do something. And maybe what we do is we go share this movie or read your book or bring it to our churches or talk to I don't even know. But there's probably 1,000 things God can give 1,000 different people to do. But we feel the prompt. This has been wrong for too long. The other thing that you bring to the table, and this is really important, is that what you just said. You care about every woman, metaphysically, I guess, who's going in for an abortion. You're not just out there with your placard, yelling evil, wrong, bad, bad, bad. This comes out of a concern that didn't change in your heart. When you started working for Planned Parenthood, the part of you was there that says, I want to care for women. When you left Planned Parenthood and said it's not cool that we're killing babies, you didn't lose your care for women. Am I right?
Yeah, no, you're right. And when I worked at Planned Parenthood, I got involved out of a sense of misguided compassion, feeling like I really was helping women. When I realized I wasn't truly helping women, Then I crossed the line so that I could truly help women. So there's never a point in time where I was like, man, I just love providing abortion. I just love killing babies.
Right.
I just love
That was
doing
not
it.
it.
It's not who you are. I mean, you get involved. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You get involved because of good intentions and misguided intentions. But the good news is that you can turn the other way. You can admit you were wrong. You can do something different.
So that brings me to your Agatha Christie mission.
Yeah.
Is that right? And then there were none?
Yeah.
Wasn't that an Agatha Christie book?
It was,
I
yeah.
thought as I was walking over here, wait a minute. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I started this ministry, and then there were none. Not based on the Agatha Christie book, but a good book.
Again, twice I've been wrong about your stuff
a
today.
good book, though,
Very good
nonetheless.
book. Yeah, for sure.
I started in mid-2012, just trying to proactively reach out to people inside the abortion industry who want to leave, who want to find a different job, who hate what they're doing, want something better. But when you're working 50, 60 hours a week, how do you do that? When you're a single mom, how do you do that? And
how many are employed, by the way, in this industry? How many people are working in the Planned Parenthood
we think
clinics?
about 30 to 3,500.
30 to 500 people. Okay.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, why not? I actually thought, why hasn't anybody done this before?
Right.
I mean, at that time, we've been fighting legalized abortion for about 40 years.
Right.
We had hundreds of ministries for every abortion issue under the sun. And I started asking people, friends of mine who were, quote unquote leaders in the pro-life movement, why isn't anybody reaching out to abortion workers? And they said, well, they're just too far gone.
Right.
And I thought, well, what about me?
Right.
Was I too far gone? Look where I am, right? And they're like, well, you're different. I'm like, nope, I'm actually not. I'm not different. I'm a sinner in need of a savior, right? That's it. Just like all of them, just like all of us. And so I started this organization not knowing if it would be successful at all. And now, here we are, several years later, we've helped 500 abortion clinic workers transition out of their jobs, transition into healing programs that we offer for them, into new lines of work, into a relationship with Christ. 7 full-time abortion doctors who have put down their instruments. And I just think, shame on us for looking at anyone in our society and saying they're too far gone for God. And I always tell people, I'm like, then you don't know the God that I know. Because the God I know, he is in the business of conversion. I happen to believe that God loves a good conversion story. And I'm telling you, it's one of the most beautiful things that I do is walking through the godly transformation process that takes place in the lives of these men and women.
I'm thinking of Saul when you said God loves a good conversion story.
Yeah.
The most persecutor of believers. He's on his way to Damascus just to kill them, and he's on the top of the game, and God converts him 180 degrees. He spends the rest of his life walking all over the known world at tremendous personal risk, a completely converted man, and he shares the gospel with the new world and the Gentiles. You are given an exit strategy and a hand of love to people who work in the abortion industry. What does it cost them? What's in it for you? My cynical journalist questions.
Oh yeah, I actually don't make any money running, and then there were none.
See, I knew that might be the answer. That's why I asked you. I bought this bus.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just stepped off my yacht.
No, if I know someone who's working at Planned Parenthood, and I say, "Have you heard of this Abby Johnson?" And she says, "Well, what do I have to? If I were to quit my job, I'm going to have less money. What does it cost the person who wants to call it, and then there were none? Or how does that work?"
So we provide financial assistance, transitional financial assistance for the worker.
Well,
so
you give them money?
We give them money. So once they have come to the decision that what they're participating in is evil, we don't want them to stay there one more second. We want them to flee from that evil. So we have a vetting process and paperwork and things like that. And they come through our program. We provide transitional financial assistance for them until they get a new job. We have professional recruiters on staff, professional HR management on staff that help them make a brand new resume, help them with interviewing skills, help them find jobs in their area. We have over 3,000 attorneys in all 50 states that have stepped up and said, look, if you need legal help for something that you are involved in the abortion industry, we'll represent you for free. We have licensed Christian counselors on staff who are able to provide at no cost to the worker one-on-one counseling for them. We provide ongoing healing retreats for our workers so they can come together with other workers who have left. It's really, it's really comprehensive.
Okay, so it's just dawning on me. I'm slow on the uptake, I will admit it. It's just dawning on me. You said there's about 3,500 workers in this industry, and you've seen 500 of them leave. That's a seventh of them. Maybe we don't legislate this thing out of existence. Maybe people just stop coming to work to kill the fetuses. Is that why you call it? And then there were none. There's no more workers.
No more abortion clinic workers.
Not Agatha
No
Christie.
more abortion clinics. No more abortions.
Good night. How do they find the whole? What's the website? Or
yeah,
whatever?
they go to abortionworker.com. If you're a person that goes and stands and prays out in front of the abortion clinics in your local community, when workers show up, you don't have to say anything except, hey, go to abortionworker.com. They can help you leave your job. That's it.
Abortionworker.com. You wrote your book in 2012, you said?
2011.
2011. Who read your book, and what did they say to you? You got notes, you got letters.
Yeah, that's actually how And Then There Were None came to be.
Okay.
Because I started getting emails from people who worked in the clinic saying, I want to leave too. Can you help me? And I thought, oh yeah, there's got to be a group out there doing that. And then I realized there wasn't. So then I started praying, and I was like, hey, God, can you tap somebody on the shoulder and just put this into their heart so that they will start a ministry for abortion clinic workers?
Somebody else do this.
And I prayed that for months.
Somebody else can hate this job.
And then God's like, hey, dummy.
Oh,
like,
my goodness.
it's you. I put it in your heart. And so we got it started. But yeah, it actually came from the initial release of Unplanned.
So what I'm hearing is some of the people who read the book were people working in the clinics like you were.
Yes.
And they wanted to have that freedom we talked about earlier to change their mind, but they didn't think they could, or they didn't think they had an option?
They didn't think there was anybody to help them.
Wow.
Oh, and the other cool thing is we had a worker who contacted us last night, who's part of And Then There Were None. She went to the film with some of her friends, her new pro-life friends, and some of the people that she used to work with at Planned Parenthood they were in the film.
In the film?
Last night watching it.
Uh-huh.
And so we know that Planned Parenthood workers are going to see this
They're gonna
film.
go see it.
And so we really need people to be praying for our team, for our staff, for the workers who are going to be seeing this, that they will see the truth, it's put in front of their face, and that they will turn and that they will contact us and leave.
Abby, help me. I have some very good friends, relatives, who will be mad at me for talking to you and be mad at you who've never met you and automatically have a strong, oh, can you just help me? Where do we go with the vile hatred of anybody? Why are they so, this is a broad question and everybody's personal is different, but why is it so cement hard and violently angry, and why do they not accept advertising for this movie? And why will you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Why is the opposition so entrenched, even with people I love?
I think it's hurt disguised as anger, but they don't see the difference. Most people that I know who are pro-choice, they have a personal story of why they are pro-choice, why they support abortion. And we've got to have dialogue with them about that. I look at the Bible. When people ask Jesus a question, he always answered with a question, which had to be super annoying. But I think that's a good way to respond, right? Somebody asks you a question and they're like, why would you even talk? Why would you be against abortion? Why do you hate women? Right?
Right. Exactly.
Why do you want to take away a woman's right to choose? And then I may ask them a question, well, what do you think about the unborn child in the womb? What makes you think that I hate women? I'm going to return their question for a question, and I'm going to try to have a conversation with them and get to the bottom of their experiences and why they believe the way that they do, and to really open up dialogue. And we're never going to get anywhere by yelling at each other. There's some I don't know, famous writer said, I don't know who it was, said, I should look it up because I quote this all the time. He said, win an argument, lose a soul.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not interested in actually being right. I'm interested in getting to your soul.
Yeah.
And so I think we need to have, especially about these polarizing topics, we need to be having more conversation, more dialogue. And just, and in the end, we can't change anybody's mind, right? But we plant seeds of truth and we allow the Holy Spirit to let them grow.
I'm talking with Abby Johnson, my old friend of now 40 minutes.
Yep.
And the movie is called Unplanned, and it's opening the day we're recording this. And I'll tell you this: I hope this is the most listened to podcast we ever do, ever have done, or ever will do, because it is vital that people meet real people. Abby is not a movement. She's not a cause. She's not some slogan on a bumper sticker. She's funny.
Super normal.
She's super normal. She laughs easily. She says what's on her mind. I just honestly believe you'd like Abby if you met her, and she'd like you, and that's why you'd like her. And we got to get beyond just yelling at each other, get to know both sides, and then pray that we can bring the kingdom and these defenseless unborn children. That's kind of what is clearly on our conscience right now. Like, there's a prick in us that says, if you're claiming me as Lord, then widows and orphans in their distress, that's the purity of how you claim me as Lord. This is a chance for us to do this right.
Yep.
This is just a movie we're talking about, but may the Lord use this movie to make a movement.
Amen.
Abby, it's really cool to meet you. Thank you for getting up. 8 months pregnant. She gets up early. It's another interview, probably the lowest media outlet you'll ever do. Every other thing you do will be more important than this one.
Not true.
But this is a delight. God bless you, my friend.
Thank
and
you so
baby,
much, John.
come out
Yes.
healthy and strong
Yes.
and spunky and not colicky. And
No
all
colic.
the things. No colicky. We just pray for this unborn children. Number 8 in the Johnson
8.
family.
We are breeders.
You're getting close to a full football team. So keep it up, Abby Johnson. Thank you for being on the No Shame Podcast.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Have no shame. No, we are not afraid. No shame.
Join us next time on the No Shame Podcast, where we're going to meet Chuck Konzelman and Carrie Solomon, the writers and producers of the film Unplanned. Find out not only how they discovered the story, but how it was through prayer alone that the movie was delayed before they felt free to begin production.